Hey there, thanks for joining 13 News on WTHR. Plus, I'm Dustin Grove. I want to bring you up to speed on one of the big stories we're following today, which is Debby. Let's show you just how massive this system is. It made landfall this morning as a Category 1 hurricane, bringing heavy rain and with it the threat of devastating floods to the southeast Atlantic coast later in the week. Now, this is a system that's impacting millions of Americans, including people right here in Indiana. Hoosiers are in Florida to help. They're heading that way. Indiana Task Force 1 deployed to South Carolina last night. This is a highly trained urban search and rescue team, and they got the call to activate around 3:30 yesterday afternoon, and within a matter of hours, they were on the road and heading south. 48 team members from 17 public safety agencies, they all packed into trucks and made this 8-hour drive, and they're going to be in that area ready for any challenge these storms bring them. Meteorologist Sean Ash is joining me now, and we showed the folks at home just how massive this thing is. You're tracking how many power outages.
Yeah, I mean, look, it wasn't a huge wind maker, even though it did intensify. I think the rain footprint will be the bigger story, but yeah, even with that said, I mean, look at these power outages. Tens of thousands of them across portions of north central Florida. Here's radar now, center of what's left of Debby near Jacksonville. Not uncommon to see tornado warnings and tornado watches with these systems, but as I play through Future Track 13, in my opinion, there is nothing worse than a slow moving tropical system as we go through time here, and that's exactly what we're going to be dealing with. And unfortunately, this is going to put down a historic rain footprint with it. And what we're talking about is parts of the Georgia coast, Carolinas, could be dealing with 15 to over 30 inches of rain. And that will be historic, unfortunately, in the days ahead. We believe the flooding that we're going to see out of this zone here is going to be really, really bad here. So we'll keep you updated on that. It does not bring us rain. The heat is our story locally. We'll have more on that coming up here in just a few minutes.
And looking at those rain totals and where they are, Sean, that's why Indiana Task Force 1 is where they are deploying to South Carolina. More on that coming up later tonight on 13 News at 6. Now, so far, officials in Florida are confirming 2 deaths from this system. A 13-year-old boy, sadly, died when a tree crushed his family's mobile home, and a truck driver was killed after his semi plunged off the side of a bridge. Laura Aguirre has the very latest this afternoon on this destructive system as it tracks up the East Coast.
Debby roared ashore the Big Bend Gulf Coast in the pre-dawn hours Monday as a Cat 1 hurricane. It weakened midday to a tropical storm, but while the winds may be slowing, meteorologists say it could be one of the most prolific rainmakers in the region's history, having dumped a month's worth of accumulation on Florida already.
We're seeing a bit of a repeat of Hurricane Debby.
Category 3 Hurricane Idalia slammed into the same area of northern Florida 1 year ago.
Many of the homes are just finishing up their renovations.
Businesses, too, like this resort, newly rebuilt after being destroyed by Idalia, are now flooded again by Debby's storm surge. The Coast Guard busy offshore, rescuing 2 people trapped on this disabled sailboat off Boca Grande, Florida, Sunday. Forecasters say Tropical Storm Debby is now churning along at walking speed, expected to drop historic amounts of rain on Georgia and South Carolina in the coming days.
We are at basically zero sea level. We're going to have some real issues.
South Carolina, Georgia, and parts of Florida are all under a state of emergency. Residents are being warned to stay inside and avoid floodwaters as crews mobilize to clean up debris and restore power in Debby's wake.
That is the #1 way where we will see fatalities, is by people being out on the roads.
I'm optimistic that we're prepared, but again, you never know what's coming down the pike.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
And we'll keep a close eye on the coast over the next couple of days. Meanwhile, a live look over downtown Indianapolis. We're dealing with heat and humidity and maybe, Sean, some storms as well, huh?
Yeah, we had some very earlier today, far northern Indiana. I think this evening we're going to be in good shape. Now, this time tomorrow we'll be watching radar, but well, the next 24 hours, my friend, we are going to be sweating it out.
Brutal.
To get to the better side of a front. But hang tight because, yeah, it is hazy too. Smoke is what we're dealing with. Some remnant smoke still showing up there in the sky. Not slowing us down, though, from warming up. Temperatures in the 90s here across central Indiana. Your evening planner will shape up like this. It is going to be hot, heat indices near and above 100 degrees. The slimmest of chances of something popping up on radar here. So a hot day for us that remains in progress. I talked about the storms that we had much earlier, farther north. Those things ran out of gas here before they reached I-70. At this hour, the heat index 104 in Terre Haute, almost 100 in Indy, and really almost 100 is what it feels like area-wide. Focal point for storms near and north of the Michiana border as we go through the evening in the first part of tomorrow, and that's where that risk of some pop-ups are, and even a few complexes of thunderstorms. Those will mostly bypass central Indiana between now and tomorrow morning. If you're heading out to State Fair, it's off today, but back tomorrow, know that it is going to be a hot day, okay? High temperature is going to reach the 90s. The heat index is going to reach 100. The impacts tomorrow that you need to know about from about noon to about 9 o'clock will be the heat. Okay, the heat index 100 plus. Scattered strong storms are a possibility. Not everyone will see storms, but anything on radar later tomorrow could be severe, and that's why we want you to be weather aware tomorrow. Have that app on your phone, our free app on your phone. Before we get into any storm action tomorrow, 100 to about 105 will be the peak heat index, and there you go. That's our risk area for tomorrow. For these thunderstorms that will pop up. As I mentioned, going to be late. This is 6, 7 o'clock here. That will be along a front that will move through tomorrow night and very early Wednesday morning, and it will bring a refreshing breeze. We're going to go from 92 with a heat index of 100 plus tomorrow, less humid on Wednesday, seasonably warm Thursday and Friday, and if nothing changes between now and this weekend, my goodness, it is looking like a beaut here. And let's hope that holds. Lows in the 50s, highs in the 70s, the early call for Saturday and Sunday.
All right, Sean, thank you. To some of the other headlines now, police believe at least one dog, if not two, killed a woman inside a fenced-in backyard on Indy's west side. Family and friends tell us 60-year-old Kimberly Williams was in the home near Olin Avenue and 10th Street to dog sit a pair of pit bulls for a man named Luther while Luther was in the hospital. Friends say Williams had been a dog groomer for 30 years and had just finished giving the dogs a bath Friday afternoon when something made at least one of them attack her.
It's just a sad situation, you know, but there ain't nobody at fault, you know. I mean, I just want everybody to know the truth. Luther's a good guy, and anybody that knows him knows he's a good guy.
That's Richard Slusher, a friend of Luther's, who told us Luther is devastated by what happened and has consented for both dogs to be euthanized. Police say a driver was on drugs when she struck a young girl crossing the street to get onto her school bus last month. And that woman now faces criminal charges. It happened on East Washington Street near Shadeland Avenue. Investigators say Melanie Mudd drove through the intersection where a bus was stopped and hit the 13-year-old girl, leaving her with broken bones and internal bleeding. After the crash, they say Mudd tested positive for Delta-9 THC and fentanyl. The girl's family says thankfully she's recovering well. As students head back to school, police are cracking down on dangerous drivers. Our Anna Chalker followed officers today at one very busy intersection.
Morning. In front of George W. Julian School 57, Denise Bartlett is making sure everyone crosses the street safely.
That's right. Good job.
But every time she steps out, she feels
nervous, more cautious.
Because she never knows if cars will stop.
I have seen a lot of people run red lights. They do not follow the 25-mile-an-hour zone. I've seen a lot of near misses.
Police have as well. IMPD says at the start of every school year, they notice drivers forget about school zones.
They haven't seen the flashing yellow lights, and so you're going to see those again, and it's important for them to know that they have a responsibility to drive safely.
That's why the department is increasing patrols around schools this year. When drop-offs started Monday, police were already out issuing tickets to people driving recklessly. While officers were out here today on this stretch of Washington Street, they were clocking people between 40 and 55 miles an hour in this school zone. And this is already a dangerous intersection. Just 3 years ago, a 7-year-old girl was hit and killed over here. And the police say this serves as a daily reminder of the dangers of speeding in these areas.
We have a social contract with each other that we will follow the rules and that we will follow the laws. Because if we don't, bad things happen. And so you don't want to be that person driving that car when a kid comes across the street and you're driving recklessly.
As officers continue their enforcement throughout the year, Bartlett reminds drivers to
Slow down.
so kids are able to make it to and from school safely. In Indianapolis, Anna Chalker, 13 News.
Anna, thank you. Right now, Metro Police are also looking into a homicide after finding a body on the city's east side. Officers were called to a building on North Shadeland near 34th Street, where they found 38-year-old Yolanda Renee Shields dead from traumatic injuries. Police say they're determined to solve her case.
Any loss of life is a tragedy in our eyes, and our detectives will be hard at work to determine what led up to this.
So far, they have not named any suspects, and they're asking anyone with information to come forward. Tomorrow, it'll be 2 years since a funeral director was shot and killed outside his own funeral home. And today, 2 men were sentenced for killing him. A jury found Stacy Fuller and Jashawn Wallace Carswell guilty in June for killing Reverend James Dixon. Now, Fuller is sentenced to 76 years in prison, and Wallace Carswell is sentenced to 66 years. Back in 2022, Dixon stopped at his funeral home to get out of the rain while riding his motorcycle. Police say they witnessed the shooting while tracking the 2 convicted men, but they weren't able to stop it in time. Now to the race for the White House. Vice President Kamala Harris set to announce her running mate after interviewing at least 3 top contenders in person over the weekend. Meanwhile, her Republican rival, former President Trump, is ramping up personal attacks. Chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander has the latest.
With a self-imposed deadline to announce her pick for running mate by tomorrow night, Vice President Kamala Harris hosted at least 3 contenders at her Washington residence Sunday: Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, who returned home late Sunday, a day after playing coy with reporters.
I'm taking my dog for a walk.
In a sign of the heightened scrutiny, Kelly deleting a tweet Sunday that read in part, "I spent my life serving in the Navy and at NASA, where the mission always comes first. Now my mission is serving Arizonans." His staff later saying it was just a standard post. His account later tweeting out, "When your country asks you to serve, you always answer the call."
Good evening.
It's unclear whether the vice president herself interviewed 3 other finalists: Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. Since President Biden stepped down 2 weeks ago, a new poll shows Harris has erased former President Trump's advantage nationwide, and it's a statistical dead heat in those key battlegrounds. It follows Mr. Trump's weekend rally in Georgia, where he reignited an old feud against the swing state's Republican Governor Brian Kemp.
He's a disloyal guy, and he's a very average governor.
Mr. Trump also accusing the vice president of being a liberal.
We have to work hard to define her. I don't want to even define her. I just want to say who she is. She's a horror show. She'll destroy our country.
And continuing his personal attacks.
She happens to be really a low IQ individual. She really does. She has a very low IQ. We don't need a low IQ.
Now up in the air whether the two will face off in a debate next month.
Meet me on the debate stage, because as the saying goes, if you've got something to say it to my face.
Mr. Trump this weekend pulling out of a scheduled debate with the vice president, instead proposing a separate matchup hosted by Fox News. The Harris campaign mocking Mr. Trump on social media, writing, "It's interesting how any time, any place becomes one specific time, one specific safe space," saying she'll be there on September 10th, like he agreed to.
Peter Alexander reporting there, and 3 months to go before Election Day. Now to another story we have been watching all day long, this right here. The stock market and concerns about an economic slowdown. It's sending shockwaves through the global markets. Indices in Asia and Europe falling dramatically, and Wall Street following suit. Lee Waldman is in New York City today to explain what exactly this tells us about the U.S. economy and what it could mean for you.
Panic at the stock exchange Monday. With markets around the world dipping sharply overnight, the Dow opened down more than 1,000 points, setting off alarm bells.
Uncertainty is our worst enemy, and panic is the ultimate uncertainty out there.
Investors appear anxious over the U.S. Federal Reserve's decision not to trim interest rates last week as it waits for inflation to fall further. But following Friday's disappointing July jobs report showing the U.S. unemployment rate ticking up to its highest level since October 2021, Fed Chair Jerome Powell's patience could be backfiring.
My guess is they're feeling a bit remorse that they didn't pull the trigger on that rate cut in July. That doesn't mean we necessarily will go into recession, but I think the financial markets do have it right.
Some traders are betting the U.S. central bank will be forced into a rare emergency rate cut, though some analysts say while this is possible, it may not be likely.
In all likelihood, the Fed wants to stick to its predetermined calendar.
The Fed still has a lot to consider before it slashes rates, according to many experts, and it's still too soon to tell if the economy is simply cooling as planned or headed for a deep freeze.
We've had some disappointing economic data that is worrisome. That's far from a calamity. It's far from giving us proof that the economy is in contraction mode, broadly speaking.
In New York, I'm Lee Waldman reporting.
Yeah, of course, we're keeping a close eye on that. Sean Ash is keeping a close eye on these hot temperatures.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a hot day for us here, and hot again tomorrow. So let's break that down for you. What's going on right now? We've got heat indices that are near 100 degrees, so it's uncomfortable stuff. Tomorrow, here's the breakdown. So from 1 until about 9 o'clock, that heat index, again, flirting with 100 plus. That means you're going to need to hydrate, seek AC. Just take it easy outdoors, and know that there will be some scattered thunderstorms. Not everyone sees them, but the storms that do pop up could be locally severe. There's the miserably muggy air again tomorrow. Here's future track 13, so we'll get you into the afternoon, and there come the thunderstorms that will start to pop up with that front. We will trade all of this muggy air in for some pleasant weather. Nice and breezy and comfortable there Wednesday, and the weekend is looking spectacular as well, Saturday and Sunday.
As always, we're just waiting for the weekend.
Waiting for the weekend, baby, never too early. Yeah.
All right, Sean, thank you.
Got it.
And thank you for watching. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you next time here on WTHR+. And finally, before we go, your primetime lineup at the Olympics. All the action starts at 8, kicking things off the women's beam, followed by the men's 200-meter heats in track and field. Then it's back to gymnastics for the women's floor, and wrapping things up will be the women's 800-meter final in track and field.